Hello friends, welcome to Internet Capsule. Today, we're going to talk about how to be disciplined by Sheldon Howe. It was a cold winter evening. John, living alone in a small flat in New York, was feeling frustrated with his life. His job was going just okay, but deep inside, he felt like he wasn't doing anything significant. Often he wondered, what is it that he truly wanted? One night, while lying on his bed mindlessly scrolling on his phone, he stumbled upon a book review. The book's name was How to Be Disciplined and the author was Sheldon Howe. What a silly topic, he mumbled to himself. But deep down, something told him, maybe this is exactly the book he needs. Without thinking much, he ordered the book online. 3 days later, the book was in his hands. John thought, let's see what's so special about this book. He carried the book to his balcony. The cold wind was blowing, a cup of tea sat on his table. He opened the book and began reading the first chapter. The first chapter was titled, Set Clear Goals. As he started reading, Krithik felt as if the book was holding up a mirror to him. It said, setting clear and achievable goals is the foundation of discipline. Goals provide direction and motivation, making it easier to stay focused and measure progress. John wondered why such a simple thing had never truly clicked for him before. He often dreamt big, one day, I'll start my own company, or I'll become an expert in digital marketing. But he had never actually planned his goals in detail. He read the next paragraph, if you don't know where you are going, you'll never get there. This one line shook him. It's true, he thought. I always think about doing something big, but I never even define what exactly that something is. He closed the book, went back inside, found the quietest corner of his room, and sat down with a notebook. For the first time, he decided he would set clear goals for himself. The first line he wrote was, focus on fitness, lose 10 kilograms in the next 6 months. Complete 3 advanced courses in digital marketing. Read 5 new books every month. After writing them down, he closed the notebook and felt a strange sense of relief. He knew achieving them wouldn't be easy, but for the first time, his goals were crystal clear. The next morning, he tried starting on his first goal. He had set the alarm for 6 a.m. But when it rang, he immediately hit the snooze button. 5 more minutes, he told himself. Those 5 minutes quickly turned into an hour. When he finally opened his eyes, it was already 7:30. Damn, I failed again, he said angrily. Then he remembered the book. He picked it up and reread the first page. There it said, failure is a part of the process. Don't be discouraged by small setbacks. Focus on getting back on track. Smiling, Krithik told himself, okay, no problem. I'll start again tomorrow. That evening, he did something new. He put up a large chart on his wall where he wrote down all his goals. Next to each goal, he made small boxes. Every time he completed a task, he would tick a box. Slowly, over the next few days, he began getting up early. For the first time, he went jogging in the park. Feeling the cool breeze and watching people running made him realize, I have to take my life seriously. He returned home and read the next part of the book, where it said, break your goals into smaller, manageable steps. A big goal can feel overwhelming. Krithik decided to break his fitness goal into small tasks. Week 1, jog for 15 minutes. Week 2, increase to 20 minutes. Gradually move up to 30 minutes. The first chapter of the book became his guide. He kept reading it over and over and applying it to his life. But life isn't always that easy. One day, John got a call from his mother. You haven't called us in 2 weeks, she said, worried. John realized he had gotten so absorbed in his goals that he had neglected his family. He immediately called his mother back and listened to her lovingly. He understood then, setting clear goals isn't just about career and fitness. It's about balancing relationships too. He opened his notebook again and added a new goal, 4. Call my parents once every week and spend quality time with them. Slowly, John's life began to change. Every night, before sleeping, he reviewed his day. If he missed a task, he added it to the next day's list. The first chapter of Sheldon Howe's book had taught him, goals are not just meant to be written down, they are meant to be lived. He realized that goals gave direction to his life. But this was just the beginning. John knew that there were more chapters left to read, and even more to implement. If you like this audiobook summary till now, help us to grow by liking and subscribing the channel. Returning to the summary, John smiled and said to himself, let's see how this book changes my life. The next few days, John began making serious progress on his goals. He was making more conscious decisions every day. When he would check his chart, the boxes he ticked off gave him a boost of motivation. He knew that following through with his goals was making his life better. One evening, after his dinner, John sat in his small flat, the book in front of him. It was time to move on to the next lesson. He flipped to the next page, which introduced the lesson, develop a routine. Reading it, John realized this was one of his biggest weaknesses. His life had always been chaotic. He was never consistent, sometimes staying up late, other times waking up late. His weekends would vanish without any structure. The book explained, creating a consistent daily routine helps in building habits that reinforce discipline. A structured schedule minimizes distractions and promotes productivity by allocating specific times for tasks. The next morning, when his alarm went off at 6 a.m., he felt the same old urge to hit snooze. But then he remembered that he couldn't fall back into his old habits. He quickly got up and started his exercise routine. At first, it was tough. His body ached, and every minute felt like an hour, but he reminded himself that habits are hard to build initially, but consistency makes them easier over time. The first few days were challenging. Sometimes, as he sat down for breakfast, he wondered if sticking to his routine was the right decision. But as days passed, he started to enjoy it. The biggest change was in his productivity. When he sat down to work, he was fully focused. He knew that each task had its own allocated time slot, so he didn't have to rush or waste time. One day at work, his manager called him in and said, "John, the amount of work you've completed this past week is impressive. No one else has managed this much. Are you okay?" John smiled and replied, "Yes, sir, I'm just becoming a bit more disciplined." Later that evening, when he got home, John realized that a routine wasn't just about managing time, it was about improving his life. He started reading more books, reviewing his day every night before sleep, and working on improving his skills. But life wasn't always smooth. One Sunday, his friend Rahul called and asked if he wanted to go see a movie. John was torn. If he went, he would miss his evening study time. But then he remembered what his routine meant. It didn't mean giving up enjoyment. Sometimes, breaks were necessary. He learned that a routine wasn't about strict rules, but about balance. Over the next few days, he made his routine more flexible. He added free time slots for when he could spend time with family, hang out with friends, or just relax. The book had a line that stuck with him: a rigid routine can sometimes feel like a burden. Allow some flexibility to accommodate unexpected events. He felt that his routine was making him a better person. His life had structure now. Where he once procrastinated until the last minute, now he completed tasks ahead of time. But John knew his journey wasn't over. He realized that developing a routine was just the beginning. He still had to deepen his habits. The book had more lessons to offer, and John was determined to learn from them. He promised himself he would read and apply each lesson to his life. After a few weeks, John was feeling more comfortable with his routine. Waking up early, working out, and spending his day productively became second nature. But life doesn't always follow a straight path. One day, after work, John came home and thought it was time for a break. He turned on the TV and, without realizing it, wasted 3 hours watching a series. When he glanced at his goal chart on the wall that evening, he felt a wave of embarrassment. Everything was going so well, and today I slipped back into my old habits. That night, he picked up the book again, flipped to the next chapter, and read the third lesson: embrace self-control. The first line hit him hard: self-control is essential to avoid temptations. Resisting short-term pleasures in favor of long-term goals is the foundation of discipline. John thought to himself, this is my biggest problem. I always chase short-term pleasures, whether it's endlessly scrolling through social media or doing something that goes against my big goals. The book explained how distractions are everywhere and often appear as harmless breaks. But even the smallest temptation can derail your progress. Determined to improve, John decided to work on his self-control. He started by identifying his biggest distraction, his phone. He deleted all unnecessary apps and set time limits for how long he could use social media. He decided he would check it only once a day, for 15 minutes. The first day was tough, and he often felt the urge to pick up his phone. But he reminded himself of the lesson: self-control isn't about avoiding everything, it's about prioritizing and saying no to things that interfere with your goals. A few days later, John faced another challenge. His friends invited him to a party on Saturday evening. He knew that if he went, he would waste the night, and the next morning, there'd be no chance to work out. He asked himself, should I go, or should I stay focused on my long-term goals? John's discipline was beginning to show tangible results. His routine was becoming a part of him, and he felt more confident each day. Not just in his work but in his personal growth as well. He started making healthier choices, focusing on his physical and mental well-being. He knew it was only a matter of time before he would achieve the goals he had set for himself. But, as with any journey of growth, obstacles still appeared. One evening, after a particularly long and challenging day at work, John returned home feeling drained. The old temptation to slack off and binge-watch his favorite shows crept in again. He almost gave in but stopped himself. He looked at his chart on the wall once again, his goals staring back at him. At that moment, he decided to change his approach. Instead of watching TV, he picked up his notebook and wrote down a few thoughts. Discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about getting back on track when you slip up. The important thing is to stay consistent in your efforts. He was learning that true discipline was not about avoiding all temptations but about how quickly he could regain his focus after faltering. He'd realized that setbacks weren't failures, they were part of the process. They were learning opportunities. The next week, John found himself more motivated than ever. His work was better than ever, he felt more energetic from his regular exercise, and his relationships had improved, too. He was more present for his family and friends because he was finally able to manage his time. But then came a challenge that tested his resolve. One Saturday, a major opportunity arose. He had been offered a position on a special project at work. It was a big responsibility, but it would require extra hours and the potential for a major promotion. John was excited, but he realized this new challenge would require him to adjust his routine. Like John, you should also get disciplined and self-control, and thank you for your support. Until then, stay safe and listen to audio summary book.